I mean, if people stop spending money, look at the way the current economy looks right now. It's like
Yeah,
consumers are
and
tightening up, inflation's coming down, but people aren't spending, and what's that going to do? Stagflation is real.
the criticism for this part of the bill is, it only really affects people in California, New York, and Illinois, with the states with high income taxes. Tax cuts are on the way. There's a new budget reconciliation bill that everyone's talking about. It's called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or as we Koreans like to call it, the Opa.
I don't know if it's a opa, dude. I think it might be over. Oba.
Over Oba. It's supposed to be a reconciliation bill. That's what they call it. It's one of those bills
Mhm.
where they like overhaul the budget, but I mean, when I look at it, it's not, it's more of an alienation bill because we're getting further away from the goal of reducing the budget deficit, you know? They're
Yep.
gonna add $3 trillion to the deficit.
Only three? I thought it was six, what I was reading.
I read 3 trillion over the next 10 years is what tax experts are analyzing.
On top of the 37 trillion or 27 trillion. What was the number again?
37, yeah. I mean, what's 3 trillion more between friends? We already have
I
37.
mean, we only add $1 billion a day to it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but seriously, if the bill passes, there could be a lot of tax breaks for, everyday Americans. So it looks like, I mean, at least the things that we're covering, it's written in a way where it should help just regular folks, people like you and me.
I hope so. I hope so.
So yeah, we are covering since we're in the housing market space, there's like one or two key items on this 1,000+ page bill that we're going to cover. The first one notably is called the SALT deduction cap increase. SALT stands for state and local tax. So just to give a brief history, prior to 2017,
Mhm.
what they allowed people to do is if you itemize your taxes, you could basically offset all of your state income tax, I'm sorry, your state taxes against your federal taxes to reduce your federal tax burden. So like if we're in California, right? We have very, very high state taxes. So I could just say, oh, I've paid this much in state taxes and then deduct it from federal. The complaint was it's not fair. People in rich states like California, New York, Illinois, they're paying less taxes overall. So they said, okay, you can only deduct up to 10,000. I'm sorry, yeah, up to 10,000 on your federal tax. But with this OBA, with the OBBBA, that limit goes from 10,000 to 40,000. So essentially, it's allowing people to be able to pay less federal taxes if they pay a lot of state taxes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for paying less taxes because the less taxes we pay, the more we can invest, and the more we invest, the economy grows, right? That's the main thought of it.
Invest, consume, whatever it is. Yeah, it's supposed to stimulate the economy.
Mhm.
That's the Reagan way, Reaganomics.
I mean, if
So
people stop spending money, look at the way the current economy looks right now. It's like
yeah,
consumers are
and
tightening up, inflation's coming down, but people aren't spending, and what's that going to do? Stagflation is real, right? Look at Japan. It's all messed up.
well, Japan has a ton of problems, like I mean
Yeah.
that's a can of worms that we can get into maybe a different time because I see advertisements for Japanese homes for like
Mhm.
$100,000, right? Like
Not
ten
even.
thousand
I see that
dollars,
for like $1. It's like
15,000.
those Italian homes.
Dude, yeah. It's kind of wild. I mean, we're entering into a period of history where like if you want to move to Japan as a foreigner and you can get a home for super cheap, like a
Hmm.
castle. But anyway, this isn't for everyone. You got to definitely talk to your CPA. We're not financial advisors. We're not tax experts. We just literally we read the bill. So
Barely read the bill. I read everybody's commentary on the bill. How's that?
I
It's
read
not
the
really passed
part
yet.
where it's relevant to this video. Who qualifies for this, right? So if you're single and you're filing your taxes itemized, and you're making less than 250K a year, then you qualify. Or if you're married filing jointly and you make less than 500K a year, this applies to you. So like uber rich people, this would not apply. But the criticism for this part of the bill is, it only really affects people in California, New York, and Illinois, with the states with high income taxes.
Texas
It doesn't do
too.
anything for Dallas, I mean Texas or Florida,
No, it
Arizona.
does. Texas is like 3% tax rate. So if you have a $500,000 home, it's $15,000 in all state taxes. I mean, you
Yes,
got to
so
be pretty
that's a good
wealthy.
point. That's a good point, because the only thing that this would help people with in terms of, people who are interested in the housing market is property taxes, because property taxes are paid to the state,
Hmm.
right? So
Exactly.
if you have a lot of property taxes, then you could offset that against your federal tax.
This is, remember, this applies to primary home tax deductions. Because if you were an investor anyway, you are writing 100% off your investment property taxes anyway on your returns. So it's like it doesn't affect you that in that regard. But for like personal income and your primary home, this is where the increase in SALT limit will help you.
So let's give an example. For example, if you're paying $7,000 in property taxes, and you pay an additional $8,000 in state income taxes, you can now deduct $15,000 from your federal. Whereas before, you were only able to deduct $10,000. So there's like a
Mhm.
$5,000 delta, right? So
That's true.
if your state taxes is a lot lower, or like zero in some cases, then it wouldn't help you at all.
Yeah, like Texas, you don't get the benefit of the income tax because there is none, but
Yeah.
you're going to benefit from those massive property tax bills of like 2.5 to 3%, right?
Yeah, if your property tax in Texas is more than 10,000, now it helps you.
And you still get to add all of your mortgage interest. Well, no, the mortgage interest is separate because this is just state and local taxes when we're talking about SALT, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
when you itemize, you can deduct property tax, sales tax, income tax, and then that on top of your charitable donations to your church, and
right,
then
exactly. There you go.
your mortgage interest, and now you're not capped at just potentially being at 10,000 for SALT portion. Now you can go up to 40 grand, right? So
40 grand.
pretty big. That's
I
pretty
don't
big.
think I don't
That's
think mortgage interest can be deducted as itemized.
It can up to 750,000 unless you were grandfathered in prior to 2017 or something, where you can go up to about $1 million. But after I think 2017 or 2018, they capped it so that the primary home mortgage interest you can only deduct from a maximum loan amount of 750,000. Anything above that you
Oh,
can't.
okay, okay.
So that's the little tax intricacies. You need to talk to a CPA. I'm not an accountant. Peter's not an accountant. I
Right.
just talk to mine a lot. But when it comes to those deductions, you just got to be smart about it. But it sounds like ideally, if that does pass, it's going to help really high income earners a lot. You know.
Yeah, disproportionately helps high income earners in high state tax states.
And states with high
Which is
property
I
tax.
don't think that's a bad thing, because I'm in California, it helps me. Not that I have a high income.
I think you look at the general spending, right? It's not the low income earners that are spending the money. It's the upper and the middle class that's consume how much, you know?
Yeah, we talked about this in a previous podcast. Like the top 10% of earners control 60% of the spending or something like that.
Yeah, and one of the like a few weeks back we were talking about it. I wish I knew that stat right off the top of my head, but we did talk about it, and I hope this helps people either pick two directions to go if this passes. Pay down your consumer debt or take on more debt. It's one or the other,
In
right?
order to invest, yeah.
In to invest because you got to be smart about it. It's you can't just this depending on how you do that, it's like this could be like a ticket for a lot of people to get out of debt real fast, like out of the
Yeah.
bad consumer debt. Because imagine getting an extra 10-20K back. That's a lot of the credit
You
card
could
bills people can't pay.
you could pay back Klarna for all those buy now didn't pay laters.
Wait, but you don't have to pay them, right? Because it's buy now never pay later.
Okay, the second thing that is on this bill that caught my eye was the estate and gift tax exemption. They're trying to raise the cap. So right now in 2025, the cap is set at 13.61 million. Estate and gift tax basically is when, like, let's say I have assets, I have a equity in my house, I have stocks, I have my will and testament, whatever. If I pass that on to my kids, they're gonna get taxed depending if it exceeds a certain amount. So right now that amount is 13.6 million. Most people don't have 13.6 million worth of assets to pass on to their kids.
I
It's
hope I
a very
do one
few.
day. I'm definitely not close to that, but
I mean, that would be the goal. That would be the goal. But most people, let's just say 99% of people in America don't have that, right?
yeah.
Um, but it's currently set to expire in 2026 and drop down to 5 million. So the millionaires are very upset about this. And President Trump in this bill is trying to help out the millionaire class and say, okay, let's bump it up to 15 million permanently. So if you are a multimillionaire, congratulations. If this bill passes, you could pass on to your kids up to 15 million tax free as a gift.
Mm.
But what's the big deal? Because they're going to pass it tax free anyway, right? There's something called trusts.
But it lets you plan a different strategy, right? Instead of
Yeah,
putting everything into trusts or different LLCs and just dealing with portfolios and like step up basis. That's very different. Like 15 million, like going from 5 to 15, that's like 10 million extra you can move per child, right? Over their lifetime, tax free. That's nuts.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
some massive legal tax evasion if you get really creative with it.
yeah. I mean, I
10
guess the
million?
lawyers are crying.
Huh?
I guess the lawyers are crying right now because, that's what they were used for.
Yeah. Yeah. Good tax attorneys, estate planners, because but that's a different strategy. Because like imagine it, like because I'm assuming the people that are moving that kind of wealth, right? We're not talking like seven figures. We're talking about like eight, nine figure wealth transfers. So 15, like having an extra 10 million to move without having to put it into a business or LLC or trust. And then how to maintain control over a certain type of asset. That's interesting, you know? That's a different strategy. That's chess. And I don't know how to play that
So
game of chess.
here's the thing that I was thinking about when I was doing the research is this actually a good thing for people to not put their wealth into a trust? Because when you do that, you have to write a contract, right? When you do that, you have to write like, how is this money going to be able to be used? Who has access to it? Who has managerial rights? Uh, you know, um, and then you can kick people in and out of trusts, right? You could structure it that way. But if you don't have a trust and if you don't have a contract, just gifting 10, 15 million dollars of inheritance to your kids tax free,
Mm,
the statistics when you look at
doesn't work.
generational wealth, 70% of generational wealth gets evaporated by the second generation.
It always does.
Yeah.
That's 100% fact. Because if you don't teach them, and you don't, that's the I think good thing about trust too. I haven't set one up for my kids yet, but if I were to pass anything on to them, I would set up a trust where they have to hit certain financial milestones, education, or something that shows responsible behavior. Because I don't want them to inherit whatever it is and then just blow it on something stupid. Just because like
Yeah.
all of a sudden at 30 with no financial experience, like I want them to like if I pass on a real estate portfolio, I want to set up like a guideline or a roadmap. Like this is how you vet single family properties. This is how you identify multifamily properties, and this is how you handle commercial properties. And like, have you gone through these three steps on your own? Okay, then yes, now you've unlocked access to this amount of capital in the trust and or your inheritance to do this type of investing. And is it verifiable? Once I do start preparing for that kind of stuff later on, I think it's going to be a lot of fun too because it's going to be an educational roadmap for not just your kid but
Hmm.
the kids, your grandchildren, and the kids after that. Like
Yeah.
if you have that kind of wealth built up, because if you can train them and turn that into like your like it's like you in that trust, teaching them generationally how to be financially responsible. and they have the ability to amend and update to add to it if necessary, so that the next generation learns how to be financially responsible. That, I think, is very important.
That's it's very important because like the stats show 70% of generational wealth gets evaporated by Gen 2 and then 90% gets evaporated by Gen 3. So like the vast majority, they're just spending it because easy come, easy go, right? The way a founder spends money is very different than a Bitcoin millionaire, right? Like
Mm-hmm. I
it's
know.
very
You don't have
different.
to tell me. I already know. I've seen them in real life.
In
Very
real life,
different.
yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, whether or not you are in this category, like 99% of the people that watching this th- they don't have anywhere near $15 million to pass on to their kids. But
If you
that's the
did, why
goal,
would
that's
you
the
be watching this
aspiration.
with us, or why would we be talking about it? If I had $15 million, I wouldn't be talking about it right now either.
Yeah, but that's the goal, right? Like maybe not that number, but the goal of having equity and having assets to pass down to your next generation, thinking about those things. Like, what are you going to do with your house? Your house could be worth, if you're in California or New York, your house could be worth like a million, 2 million by the time you're ready to pass it down to your kids because
If you're in
appreciation,
Irvine,
right?
your house is worth like anywhere between 2 to 10 million. That's
Right.
insane. It's absolutely insane. You got a 1970 home going for 2.5 million. You go to anywhere else in the
Yeah.
country, you drop that house, it's like 250 bucks, $1,000.
Yeah,
It's
we're not
insane.
talking about right now. We're talking 30 years later.
I know,
How much?
exactly.
What is your house going to be worth, right? Inflation. If you think about inflation, like how much our house prices have gone up in the past 5 years, dude. I mean, like your a normal house could be
Artificial
worth like
though in the last
$10 million.
5 years. It's not. I mean, artificial is a very strong word, but it's like most of those massive gains on a 10 to 15 year look back happened in the last 5 years, right? So if you exclude that and then look behind it, you probably see normal appreciation of about like 3 to 5%, right? Right now in Orange County, if you add the last 3 to 5 years to the 10, 15 look back, it's probably like my neighborhood, our neighborhood is like 12%. It's nuts. It shouldn't be this high.
Which is not normal. Yeah,
No,
which
it's
is not
not.
average, like typical
But
historically.
there's a
Yeah, but
massive
if you,
shortage in our areas too, because
Mhm.
it's so packed. We don't have any more space to add more homes. So the
Right.
supply drives it higher.
Yes. But the thing is like if you have a $450,000 home and it appreciates at like 3.5% over 30 years consistently, your home's going to be $1.2 million. So just looking at that statistic alone, I mean, if you just hold on to your house, this might be something that you need later on, like this bump from 5 to 15 because of literally because of inflation and asset appreciation.
Yeah. Generally speaking, yes. But then
Yeah.
it's like,
I mean,
mm,
looking 30 years into the future, who knows what's going to happen, right? We could all be living in holes, and the AI overlords could be like hovering,
yeah, I
hunting
don't
us
think it's gonna be
down.
that bad. I don't think it's gonna be that bad. That's your imagination gone wild. If it's that bad, we need to build a bunker somewhere.
Hey, remember last week I was telling you
Hmm.
about my
Yeah,
American dream of having connected bunker systems?
we can. We can just build a tunnel under my house, all the way down that way to your parents' house.
That'd be pretty cool. Um, all right, so that's it for today. If you got anything out of this, sorry, hold on. I think that's it for today. We covered the SALT tax. My God, the SALT cap extension. What is it called?
I
Oh,
mean, it's
we covered.
the hype. I think you gotta close it out as like we covered the salt deduction, right? That if it
Mhm.
passes, you know.
Yeah. All right. So so far we've covered the SALT deduction cap increase and also the potential estate and gift tax exemption increase. Like we said, these are not passed yet. They're still talking about it. It has a few more steps to go. But if it does pass, then you can know what next steps you need to take in order to prepare for the future. So whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, morally right, morally incorrect, that's not for us to say here. If the bill passes, it passes. It's reality, and you got to deal with it. Uh, Jason, do you have any parting words for people watching?
I try to look at things as glass half full. So even if it doesn't apply to you, find a way to make it apply. If you're listening and you're looking to buy and build a real estate portfolio or own a home, long-term wealth is important to you, right? So find a way to help improve yourself financially. That's like how I've always looked at it. So think of it in a positive way, in a manner that is positive to help you move forward and progress in life financially.
Okay, that's it for today. If you've made it this far, consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. Help us out with the algorithm. Please support us here. And if you want to schedule a one-on-one consultation with either Jason, Nikki, or myself, you can use that link in the description. It's free, no obligation, no pressure, just clarity. All right, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.